Hello, my name is Tenario Phillips. I am currently a grad student at the Grand Canyon University, and welcome to my lab for your second hack part one presentation. Let's get started. Here we talk about. I hit the command mmap 1921.168.56.0 dash or slash 24. Now that command, of course, brings up all of my open ports in the current IP addresses that are running on the current virtual machine. And as you can see, it says my IP address is 192.168.56.3. I had it misconstrued because I thought my IP address was point 0.7 at the end, but I of course I found out later that it was point 0.3, and that was one of the reasons why it wasn't um, doing everything it was supposed to do. Now on the screenshot on your right, I run the Nikto dash H 192.168.56.3, which is my IP address. And as you can see, it gives the target IP, the host name, the port 80, of course, and the start time that we started the scan. Now that Nikto scan, of course, it tells everything so far as all your vulnerabilities and everything that is wrong and the things that is running on that specific IP address. As you can see, it says the server was Apache 2.0.52 CentOS, which is the Kali box that I am running on. It also says the like anti-cliff jacking, and it's not present. The X-frame options header is not present. It says see developer, and it says see the developer.mozilla.org. These are really a lot of if I'm not mistaken, they are a lot of vulnerabilities. So yeah, flawed hypothesis methodology. Now, based on the enumeration of key options 2, I anticipated discovering numerous vulnerabilities subsequent to the completion of the intrusive vulnerability scans. This hypothesis suggests that the system may have several weaknesses that could potentially be exploited. The enumeration process aims to systematically identify and document these vulnerabilities for further analysis. By conducting thorough scans, we aim to uncover any security gaps and address them accordingly. Ultimately, our goal is to enhance the overall security posture of that system. Now, here is my web application testing, also the Nessus scan. And as you can see, I run I didn't have Nessus currently um, installed on my machine, installed on Kali. So I had to go and install Nessus myself. So some of the things that I did, the commands I did, was first I had to download Nessus. So I had to go on my Safari and down and go into Nessus and download the download for the Linux package. And as I do that, I go into my downloads, I pull up my terminal in downloads, and this is how we get to the home/scenario/ downloads folder, and in that folder I will put dash bin slash bin slash system ctl start nessus with a d dot service. Now that wouldn't do nothing. That command would just automatically go down and it would just be in that command. And while you're in that command, you would put sudo system ctl status nessus dot service. Now with that shows you that if Nexus finally downloaded on your machine, and it will show if the status of it, if it's currently up and running or not. Now on vulnerability analysis and mapping Nexus. Now currently, when I went into doing that, it told me to put in um if I'm not mistaken, if it's stickers on here, it told me to put in 8834, right? And but I also had to put in https dot https semicolon //127.0.0.7, and then you will put 8834. I was just putting in that um link that was giving me on my route, and it wasn't going through. So I put that. I did my research and I put that on my link on the Firefox, and that is what popped up. Now I was able to go through everything, but as I was doing my vulnerability, as I was trying to create my vulnerability scan, it was saying that it was loading my logins. So I waited for about 3 hours, and it still was doing the same thing. And the next thing I know, it pops this up. Now I don't know if that's one of the vulnerabilities that's actually that is actually for that's actually in Nessus, but this was the page that I've been stuck on ever since. So I wasn't able to do a Nexus scan, but I was able to get into my Nexus. I was able to download the Nexus, but of course, for future references, I will ask, but I don't understand why. But this is the page that I was stuck on. Now, unlike the Nexus account application, OWASP Zap actually worked pretty well and smooth. I just like the Nexus, I had to download OWASP Zap, and in order to download OWASP Zap, as you can see, I went to zapproxy.org, and I had to go to and download the Linux installer, and you download the Linux installer, and just like Nexus, you had to go into the download folder, pull pull up the terminal, open it up in a terminal, and as you can see, I had to sudo su, put my password in, and of course that download popped up. I coded ls, and then I was able to put in dot backslash zap dot sh, and that was able to run it and download zap. That was able to download zap. So the download was pretty smooth. Everything went pretty fine. It popped straight up. It loaded straight up, and yeah. OYZAP vulnerability. Now, below is the OYZAP vulnerability scan that I created myself with my IP address 192.168.56.3. Now, as you can see, a lot of vulnerabilities popped up. A lot of vulnerabilities popped up. And specifically, I seen SQL injections and anti-SRF tokens, which are mainly common vulnerabilities from my research. And I was able to find a lot of different kinds of vulnerabilities. But those two were the most that I seen that caught my eye. Now here's 10 local vulnerabilities that I found. Now, identification of outdated software versions. Now, Nikto excels in detecting obsolete web servers, application frameworks, and plugins that may harbor known vulnerabilities due to outdated software versions. Now, Nikto can be ran on different things. It's very good when identifying like vulnerabilities that aren't updated to that system server. So that's what's really good about Nikto. It can find out vulnerabilities that's just plain on old, and it be thrown out due to an update. Now, detection of misconfigurations, Nikto adeptly uncovers common misconfigurations within web servers, such as inadvertent enabling of directory listings. As you can see, I had to go through directory and listings and of that nature when I was doing the Nikto installation. Um, Enabling of directory listings, accessibility of default files, or improper permissions assigned to files and directories. Now, enumeration of open ports and services. Now, Nikto proficiently identifies open ports and active services operating on the targeted system, serving as potential entry points for malicious actors. And as you've seen, when I did Nikto, it popped up most of my operating system, the operating system I was serving on, Potential entry points. Of course, you're seeing the entry ports. The entry ports so far as 80 port 80 and things of that nature. And malicious actors, as you can see, it pops up a lot of different vulnerabilities while doing the scan. Now, detection of injection vulnerabilities. Nikto is capable of identifying injection vulnerabilities encompassing SQL injection, command injection, or cross-site scripting (XSS) flaws within web applications which pose risk of unauthorized access or data compromise. The next one is cross-site request forgery, which is a CSRF. Nikto can identify CSRF vulnerabilities where attackers can trick authenticated users into performing unintended actions on a web application. So far as like a if I'm not mistaken, so far as is the email that we had to create not too long ago, we had to create a phishing email which prompts you to click on a link that takes you somewhere, and that's how a lot of hackers and scammers get your information. That is one of the examples of a cross-site request forgery. Now, the next one is security headers. Nikto can flag missing or improperly configured security headers such as content security policy, strict transportation security, and X content type options, which can help protect against various web attacks. Information disclosure through HTTP method. Nikto can detect if the web server allows sensitive information to be disclosed through verbose error messages or responses to the specific HTTP method like trace or options. And if you can see in the previous screenshot, you can see that it showed the different HTTP of some of the trace and some of the options. Vulnerabilities, legal and ethical standards. I firmly believe that it is ethically imperative to promptly address my discovered vulnerabilities to prevent potential harm to individuals. The risk of real people being affected by these vulnerabilities is significant, underscoring the importance of closing exploitable vulnerabilities as soon as they are identified. Additionally, I hold the conviction that transparency is essential in the realm of cybersecurity. Therefore, I advocate for the disclosure of all vulnerabilities to the public, facilitating collective efforts to address security risks effectively. This approach not only enhances accountability but also fosters a culture of collaboration and shared responsibility in safeguarding digital ecosystems. By promptly addressing vulnerabilities and promoting transparency, we can mitigate risk and enhance the overall security posture of systems and networks. It is our ethical duty to prioritize the protection of individuals and organizations from potential harm stemming from cybersecurity vulnerabilities. Root vulnerability and hypothesize attack vectors. Now, I hypothesize that by employing coming social engineering attacks, rootkits, and backdoors, I can exploit the system for an extended duration. To identify vulnerabilities at their core, I would conduct root cause analysis utilizing physical, human, and organizational methods. I am to implement preventive measures and pinpoint vulnerabilities at their source. Through vulnerability scanning, I've learned that my device is vulnerable to cross site scripting, clickjacking, and cross site request forgery. As you know, we just talked about that in the previous slide. These are some of the things that was wrong with my virtual machine. Here's my reference page where I've got all my information about Nikto and so forth and things like that. I also want to thank Professor Farr for everything you have done for me. Thank you so much. Thank you for viewing my presentation today. You all have a blessed day.